Another thing in the history of Japanese martial arts is when the arts transformed from fighting arts to the way of. When things transformed from a jutsu to a do. Things like kenjutsu turned into kendo. Jujitsu turned into judo. Iai-jutsu turned into iai-do. This took place after World War II, when Japan was no longer allowed to, one, be armed, or two, have combative or forceful aggressive arts. So what happened was, in order for the Japanese to still want to practice martial arts, things changed from a fighting art to the way of, from jutsu to a do. Kenjutsu, which was the true art of the Japanese sword, turned into kendo, where from using either a shinken, a real Japanese sword, or a bokken, which was a wooden sword, you went to using a shinai, which was a sword that was made together of pieces of bamboo that were laminated and strapped together so that it had a spring-like action and that the sword could be used in a sport-like way in competition so that people were allowed to strike each other without causing harm. Henceforth, same thing with bamboo armor. A bamboo chest protector, a helmet, and a skirt and gloves so that people were allowed to practice swordsmanship in a non-combative and a non-lethal way. Same thing with iai-do. Iai-jutsu was the combative art of drawing and cutting with the sword. It turned into iai-do. When it went from a standing art to an art that begins in seiza, you didn't wear a katana while sitting in seiza. This was done to make the art non-combative so that they could practice swordsmanship without it seeming aggressive. So that within the American occupation of Japan, people were allowed to practice swordsmanship in a non-threatening way. You sat in seiza, you went from seiza to a kneeling position, drew the sword, cut, and went through your sword form. Your sword form was done slowly, and when you did chiburi and noto, which was the blood flick and the putting away of the sword, was done quickly. The reason that it was done quickly and flashy was it was not an aggressive action. I'm putting my sword away. So if I do a flick and a big flourish and I put my sword away, I'm not being aggressive. I'm putting the sword back in the side, back in its scabbard. So I'm not being aggressive. So those are some of the ways that within the American occupation of Japan, the Japanese martial arts turned from jutsus into dos.